All right, welcome everyone. Okay, wonderful. Good to see you all, and welcome to our practice with the Charlevoix Public Library. My name is Heidi Grace with Charlevoix Yoga, and it's a pleasure to be here in the now with you. Let's begin rubbing our hands. So if you're already reclined, that's perfectly fine. If you're sitting up still, you can do this while you're seated. Begin to rub your palms together, generating a little heat in your hands, inhaling and exhaling. And then if your eyes are closed, you might bring your hands to rest over the palms of your eyes, taking a moment. I'm giving a break of our eyes from the screen. And while you're here, bring your awareness into the back side of your body. So again, if you're reclined, you might just become aware of where your back is in contact with the floor. If you're still seated, you might imagine as you're inhaling a sensation or awareness like a waterfall moving down your back body with your inhale. And as you exhale, that awareness moving all the way down, right down to the earth. So letting it be an awareness of your back body again as you inhale. Energy moving down the back of your head, your shoulders, your back, all the way down to your hips, back of your legs. Exhaling all the way down to your feet. Good. And then if you had your hands on your eyes, removing your hands, rub your palms together again, just getting a little heat, creating a little friction in your palms, and then placing your hands over your heart, either across your chest or one on top of the other in your heart center. And here we cultivate gratitude. Yay, here we are gathered together for this practice that helps us to aligning ourselves, our body, our mind, our spirit, right into this moment. Feel the touch of your hands on your heart. Grateful for this time that you've carved out. Grateful for the library, for all of its amazing programs. Grateful for the clothes you have, grateful for the roof over your head. Grateful for anyone who's perhaps practicing with you in the same room, or even extending that gratitude to everyone gathered here, either in the same time and space, or even extending that gratitude to the community members who might watch this recording later. Inhaling and exhaling, awareness still of the touch of your hands on your heart. And then into that feeling of gratitude, perhaps you have an intention for today. Maybe there is something that has been coming to your attention a lot. Maybe a certain thought or a certain memory keeps coming back in. Maybe you set the intention today that instead of trying to think about it or figure it out, that maybe by the end of practice, or perhaps sometime during practice, or even in your sleep time, that you are receiving any amount of clarity. Maybe you have a different intention. Take a moment, really utilizing this feeling of gratitude and intention. Okay. All right. And as you release your hands from your heart, let's first start with a nice full body stretch. So if you're not extended out on the floor yet, go ahead and extend your whole body out long. I'm going to switch the speaker. All right, so as you stretch your whole body out long, reaching out through your arms and through your legs. Good. And in this full body stretch, you might circle your wrist and your ankles, wiggle your fingers and your toes. And then in your own time, bend your knees again, bring your feet onto the mat, let your hands rest onto your low ribs. So here you might let your elbows move a little wider out to the sides so that your arms, your upper arms and shoulders can be relaxed. And your hands onto your low ribs. Now here in this position, invite a natural curve of your low back, just a little up away from the floor. So sometimes in this position, there's been the inquiry of, should my back be pushing down? In this position, we're going to let it relax. So relax through your abdominal muscles, allowing here for just that little tiny bit of a softness or lift, and hands resting on your low rib cage. Now, if it's comfortable, you might close your eyes and take a few more full breaths right here. Now with our yoga practice, while we do have a targeted area of our low back, you will find that in a yoga practice, you'll expand the whole body awareness. So you will feel more spacious, perhaps, in your whole body, perhaps a little bit more awareness from your head to your toes. Good. Now you can keep your hands here on your low ribs, and we will now begin to engage a bit through the core and actually press the small of your back down to the mat. So as you press the small of your back down, there will be a little tilting of your pelvis, your tailbone starting to scoop up. So with that core engagement, small of your back pressing down, and then you'll release that. And this time, as you release that, getting the small of your back, that little arch, that little curve up, you'll feel your pelvis tilt, as if you're tilting to point your tailbone down. And then again, press the small of your back down. You're starting to light up, turn on a little bit of your lower abdominal area. And then you'll relax through your core and your small of your back will arc up again. Good. So we'll layer this in with the breath. As you're exhaling, you will engage your core, press the small of your back down. There will be that little tilt of your pelvis, tailbone pointing a little more up. And then inhale, releasing through your core, small of your back arcs up. Good. Continue about 3 or 4 more times with this pelvic tilt. Exhale, pressing the small of your back down, engaging your core. Let your feet stay balanced and relaxed. And then inhale, relaxing through your abdomen, tilting your pelvis. Sitting bones begin to point down. Good. Exhale, core engagement, balanced left and right. Not over engaging, but just waking up through the lower abdominal region. Inhale. And again, exhale, slow and steady. Small of your back pressing down, core engaging. Inhale. Good. One more time as you engage through your core and press your back down. Scan through awareness of your whole body. Relax your jaw, your tongue, your toes, your cheeks. And then inhale. Finding that pelvic tilt again. Small of your back lifting up. Good. Very nice. When we turn to neutral, you might wiggle your toes, releasing for a moment here. All right, very nice, everyone. Next, you'll bring your small of your back first down to the mat. So engaging through your core, press the small of your back down. And now as you lift your feet, bring your knees over your hips. Keep the small of your back pressing down, lift one foot and then the other. Now, here, core is engaged, knees are over your hips, your toes might be visible. If this is feeling like a lot, hands might stay on your rib cage. Maybe it helps to have your hands a little farther down, even a little support onto your hips. Keep pressing the small of your back down. Keep the breath steady and even. And if this is feeling like it's been enough of this for you, you could explore having your toes onto the ground, small of your back pressing down. Keep that core engaged, whichever variation you are in. I'll take about 3 more breaths here. Small of your back stays pressing down. Allowing this practice of mindfulness, awareness of engagement, ability to turn on these muscle groups. We translate this off of our mat into our various activities. Very good. All right, and when you are ready, releasing one foot and then the other all the way back down to the mat. Very nice. Gather your knees into your chest. Give yourself just a little squeeze for a moment here. As you wrap your arms around your legs, you might find a gentle side to side rocking. If that feels like it's a bit too much here today for your low back, you could explore circling your knees around. That might be another option for massaging the space of your back. You can change the direction if you're doing the circles, and if you are exploring the side-to-side rocking, you can try any variations. You might be rocking a little side to side. You could even be exploring turning your head a little bit away from your knees as you're rocking from side to side. Whichever variation you are taking, send all of your awareness into the space of your low back. We'll take 3 more breaths here. And as you are ready, release your feet back down to the mat. Now, if you would like another full body stretch, extend your legs out long, reach your arms up overhead. For those of us here in real time, we understand why I have all of the socks and layers and sweaters. Those who might watch this recording in another season. It happens to be February in this moment. Good. Let's relax our arms back down, bend your knees, feet to the mat. Hands onto your low rib cage. Elbows resting out onto the floor. If it's comfortable, you might close your eyes and take about 3 to 5 breaths here. So just allowing the pause to integrate and digest. Giving yourself time to digest not only your food, where it's recommended that we allow enough time between meals, make sure to skip any extra snacking in order to maintain a really balanced metabolism. But we also can return to the practice of finding time to digest all of the input that we have. We have a lot of input these days, access to endless amounts of information at our fingertips. So finding those moments where we pause. We practice this here in yoga. And ideally, we practice it too with the little mini computers that we all have in our hands. Setting those aside from time to time, enjoying a little fast. Good. Let's stretch right leg up to the sky. As you reach your right leg up to the sky, if you want, just give your ankle a little turnabout just to remind yourself of that. Hopefully, perhaps, daily practice. Maybe you circle your ankles before you get out of bed, allowing for that flexibility in order to maintain our sense of balance. Good. And you'll bend your knee all the way over to the left, the outside of your left leg, and then continue that momentum. Hands can stay onto your low ribs. You'll let your legs go all the way over to the left side. Now that feels like a really big twist right now. Maybe you put your blanket or your pillow underneath your knees on the left side and let your legs rest upon that lift. Again, hands might be onto your low ribs. Really full, deep, even breaths here. Now, since our target area is our low back, we might keep our head centered. Sometimes in our twist, we turn our head the opposite direction. But again, today we might choose just keeping our head centered. Really mindful, full breaths here. Very nice. Now, that little engagement through your lower abdominal region that we activated with our pelvic tilt, as you wake up through your low core, bring your legs back to center, stretch that right leg up, and release your foot back down to the mat. You might take a little side to side windshield wiper type motion with your legs. And then we'll situate ourselves at center for the second side. Reach your left leg up to the sky, giving a little circling of your ankle. Now you may notice a bit of enjoyment of having your leg to the sky. It doesn't have to be straight, but just allowing for a bit of that inversion effect, allowing for the release of any stagnant energy, any tiredness, allowing that all to move down, clearing out through our lymph. Good. So little ankle circles. And when you are ready, you'll use the momentum of that leg to move into the twist. So you'll cross your leg over to the outside of your right leg and continue the momentum, letting your legs come down. Again, maybe we want to reach over, bring in our prop, sliding your blanket or your pillow on the right side now, so that as you come over, your legs can rest upon that. Hands onto your low ribs. Head might stay centered here. Could even feel really nice to let it turn to the right. If it's feeling like there's space for it and it enhances your experience and it's very breathable, you might turn your head to the left. Wherever you're at in the pose, full even breaths, and stay really aware of the whole village of your body. So your fingers, your toes, your ankles, your jaw, your eyes, your ears, your nose. We take this time on our mat, cultivating this mindfulness and this expanded awareness of our whole embodied experience. And then we find that translates off of our mat. So in our lives, we have those moments where sometimes feels like a superpower to be So aware, relaxed, embodied in the now. But it allows us to be out of our head and into our bodies. Good. So here again, you're going to wake up through the lower abdominal region. Very mindfully bring your legs back up to center. Stretch that left leg up, unwind, bring your foot all the way down. Good job adjusting, situate your low back, your feet to the center, and now knees to chest again. Take your time here, especially if your low back has been tender. A little side to side rocking to massage. Good. Now, if it is feeling like more of a preventative practice for you today, maybe as your knees are coming to your chest, you gently lift your head and shoulders any amount in towards your knees. And then eventually we'll release our head and shoulders back down. And as we prepare to transition to seated, it might be available for you to do a little spinal kriya, holding the back of your legs and rocking forward and back along your spine. So you might play with it, see how that works. Maybe if you know that that isn't part of your practice, then you can roll to one side and make your way to seated. Oh, nice. I'm curious if that back crack of mine is audible in the recording. All right. So as you eventually come all the way up to seated, you might wish to use your blanket to sit upon. We'll start in Sukhasana with a cross-legged position. Absolutely could be a seated position in a chair or any variation of seated. Exploring shins crossed, sitting up nice and tall, and just taking a moment to find your seat. So last week we worked a lot with moving into our back body as well, sliding our shoulder blades together, aligning ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. And as you situate into your seat, stacking your spine, a little awareness of the low ribs, staying hugged in. Nice upright spine, optional to close your eyes, pause, breathe and feel. Beautiful. We'll take a gentle twist here. So as you are ready, bring your right hand to the blanket or floor behind you and let your left hand sweep across to your opposite knee. The left hand might be on your right leg or your right knee. And really grounding into your legs, letting your pelvis stay situated so it's not twisting with us. Really tall through your spine, shoulders as relaxed as possible. And as you're turning your rib cage, keeping your heart nice and lifted, perhaps there's a little bit of an engagement or awareness of your navel, moving back and in with your exhale. Not trying to pull or push ourselves into the twist, just allowing a few more moments in this outline. Ringing out the events of the day. So we can clear it out. Yep, that happened. That was said, that was heard, that was seen. We digest it and we let it go. So we have that clear slate in the present moment. Good. Going back to center, let's inhale. Stay at center for a moment as you exhale. Let's take another breath here. Even the first side of the twist can be digested. Just a moment. Good. And then second side, sitting up nice and tall, full inhale, twisting to your left hand coming to the blanket or the floor behind you, or even to a chair if you're sitting in a chair, right hand across. Really let your legs and hips ground, anchor, send your roots down into the earth. The plant alchemy divination card I drew this morning was dandelions. Quite excited about that. Dandelions find their way through any surfaces and in any adverse conditions. They send that taproot down into the earth to get their nutrients. It can even go through sidewalks, right? Staying nice and rooted, no matter what is spiraling around you. You have that space of your center. You're able to take in impressions, experience emotions, and releasing, digesting, being a clear slate. Let's come back to center. Inhale. And exhale. Beautiful. The next variation of a seated posture is Siddhasana. So the first one was Sukhasana. Siddhasana, we'll start with our left heel coming in first, and then our right heel in. So if this is not an option for your knees, again, any seated position is fine, and you can stay with Sukhasana if you prefer. So one heel in front of the other. Here on the blanket, you might scoot a little forward so your feet are down. Your legs might be able to drop down a little bit more. Again, mindful here of your knees. Really anchor your hips, your pelvis back and down. And perhaps you begin with your hands onto the floor in front. If your knees are not loving this option, you can always take your legs out and move into forward folds with feet a little wider. So left heel in, then right heel, hands forward. So for some of you, it might stay here as you anchor back into your legs and hips. Maybe there's a little room to walk farther forward. Maybe there's room to lower down to your elbows, anchor your hips, your pelvis back and down. And you may find, for some of you, it might even feel better to not have the blanket there. It could be all right in your forward fold to be anchoring your legs, your pelvis back onto the floor. I invite you to really ground your legs back and down. If you have lowered down to your elbows or beyond, you might lift up so you're on your fingertips, and we'll walk our hands gently any amount over to the left side. Slowly walking your hands over to the left, stay with your roots back and down. Breathe into the space across your low back. Perhaps a little more targeted on that right side. Now, our awareness of our practice last week was a lot about our shoulder blades, where our scapula. So perhaps finding that you could position your shoulders a little more mindfully onto your back. And then keep your hips anchored back. We'll walk our hands over to the right. You walk your hands and fingers over to the right side. Keep, again, anchoring back. Breathing into the stretch now, perhaps a little more on the low back on the left side. Let's inhale, walk our fingers back to center, slowly walking your hands back, bringing your fingertips in close again. Inhale and exhale. Good. We will take the opposite cross of our legs. So if you did bring your left heel in first, let's swap that out. Bring your right heel in and then your left heel. A little situating if this is not your usual cross of your legs. Again, mindful of your knees. If you would like, you're sitting on the blanket, or if it makes sense, you could even tuck your blankets or your yoga blocks or even your pillows under your knees. Tending to what you're finding out as your body is sending you signals. Again, you might start with bringing your hands or fingertips to the earth in front, ground back and down through your hips and pelvis. And then optional, maybe you're walking your hands a little farther, For some of you, it might be available to lower down onto your elbows or forehead, forehead perhaps too. Resting all the way down. Smooth, even breaths. Good. And if you lower to your elbows, lifting up a little bit here, you'll stay grounded back through your legs, walking your fingers first to the right this time, walking your fingers over to the right side, breathing into the stretch of your low back, a little more on that left side. When you're ready, slowly walk your fingers through the middle and over to the left. Eventually back to the center, walking your hands in closer, inhale, slowly coming all the way up. And exhale. All right. And here you might wish to free your legs if having them in that cross position is not a usual or a regular, or has been maybe since kindergarten. Releasing, opening up through your knees. All right. If you are doing a forward fold today, you might experiment with having the blanket. All right, so we have a couple options of doing this. All of them feel a little bit like an inchworm. Bringing your blanket under your seat, positioning so you have your heels onto the blanket, and then here's the fun one. You can sound effects, welcome. Rocking yourself forward. So I don't know where it was, but they say about how many times you have to touch the ground to stand up. So that whole idea of practicing getting things working so that we can stand up without touching everything. Sound effects help. If it does work for you, use your hand behind, shifting yourself forward. So your heels will be on the blanket and fingertips onto the floor in front. Okay, so if your knees are saying, yeah, no thanks, then you can stay on your back if you'd like to do some table. We will be migrating from this into a standing forward fold with your heels on the blanket. So if that's available to you, fingertips to the floor in front, slowly begin to straighten your legs, keeping your heels onto the blanket. I invite you with this low back focus to keep a bend in your knees. Even if our forward fold may often have us having straighter legs, give yourself that space today. We're being gentle with ourselves, just in case. Yeah, because we love ourselves, not just in case. It's a superpower to conserve our energy. So if we need a little energy next week with that full moon and astrological events, we'll be all set. Having all this self-care this week. Loving kindness. Radical self-love. All right, we are coming back down onto our seat. You might take your feet a little wider if you do Malasana. Toes out, heels in, coming down into a little yogi squat. If this is not your knees idea of a good time, then you can come all the way down onto your seat. And here you will release. Our next posture is a half frog. So we'll use our folded blanket for under one of our knees. And I will start with it on the left side. I'm gonna put that, oh, that's not visible in there. Okay. It'll be on my left side if I'm on the other side. Okay. Interesting, my brain just stopped. Decided. So in table, knee will go on the blanket. My left knee is on the blanket. Gonna stretch that right leg out long and come all the way down onto the belly. So your left knee will be bent out to the side. With your left knee bent out to the side, have it on the blanket. And we'll bring our forearms as we do for Sphinx pose. So your left knee is resting out onto the blanket, right leg is straight out behind you. Now here, again, that awareness of our practice last week of what's happening in our shoulders and upper back, you'll give a little bit of a press in your elbows. So you're lifting up out of your shoulders, sliding your shoulder blades apart so you have a little bit more room. And then let's take 5 deep breaths here. If you would like, you could fold the blanket a little higher for under your left leg. Kind of depends on what your hip is interested in today. If this is not feeling all right for your elbows, or if your right hip point is digging into the ground, you might move your elbows farther forward or explore resting your head down. Getting the hip opening on that left side, your knee is bent out from your hip. You might have your foot flexed on that side as well. So again, just like with our choice of yoga mats, our choice of the variation of a pose that we take is based on a number of different moving factors. That's one of the many beautiful things about yoga and Ayurveda is it's a living practice. Just like the seasons, it's continually evolving, moving, changing. And our mastery of it is our ability to be awake and aware in the present moment. So we can notice and respond. Now, as you are ready, you can bring your hands under your shoulders. And you might from here engage through your low core just the right amount and take that left leg back. Press up on the hands and knees from there. And taking a moment in your table if you would like to move through a couple rounds of cat and cow. Arching your back towards the sky, engaging through your core, squeezing belly in, exhale. And releasing, turning the sitting bones to point up, bring your heart through, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. When you feel ready, we'll switch our prop, either your blanket or your pillow to the other side. And here again, I'm going to start in table with my right knee this time onto the blanket. Plant through the hands, left leg will extend out and lowering down. Take that right knee out to the side. Propped up onto your forearms here. And again, there's no real technical way about how to get into it. You can get in and out of the pose in the way that makes sense for you. So if you're propped up like you do for Sphinx, press in your elbows to lift up out of your shoulders. If you want, you can have that whole knee and foreleg on the blanket. And the variation again of taking elbows out wide, resting your forehead. And really enjoying these moments, bowing in to the radiance of your heart. Hanging out, listening to your breath. Couple more moments here. And when you are ready to transition out, you might slide your hands back under your shoulders, engage through your low core so that you can access mindfully sliding that right leg straight back again. And then that little bit of core engagement as you press yourself up onto hands and knees in your tabletop position. You can perhaps bring your blanket in, and this could be where you grab a pillow and situate yourself for a supported child's pose. A yoga bolster works great for this. If you're rolling up your blanket, you might take your knees wide, putting your hips back towards your heels. And as you rest your chest forward over your blanket, maybe resting a cheek onto the mat. If that's not an option for you, or if you prefer to have your knees together in child's pose, you might use the blanket to rest your forehead upon, maybe allowing for a little support under your head. Good. So a lot of that lower abdominal core awareness is what gives us the support for our low back. So that type of muscular awareness, that little bit of engagement that we have, can help us from anything from picking a sock up off the ground or shoveling tomorrow morning, whatever it may be that you're having this activity for. So we'll take a moment here in this supported child's pose. If child's pose is not comfortable for you, either for your knees or for your hips, you can also rotate yourself around onto your back in the position which we began and allow your body to rest in that space. Hands might rest onto your abdomen or low belly. And smooth, even breaths here. Now, if you find that you are comfortable in your supported child's pose, you might remain there. If you would prefer to reposition yourself all the way around onto your back, then finding that option. Down onto your back, take a moment. You might place the blanket under your knees. Wherever you're deciding to take a pause, to land, integrate, and digest, a big cleansing breath can assist us with that shift and release. Deep inhale in through your nose, and perhaps even an open mouth exhale, exhaling the breath out, even with the sound of a sigh. And just a few moments here, not too long of a Shavasana in the evening. And just enough time to practice and experience a little space of surrender. As you bring your awareness back to your body, back to your heart, you might remember the intention that you set, perhaps bringing in a little more awareness of love, understanding, compassion, peace, bliss. Now, if you have some time and space in your schedule to remain a little longer here in Shavasana, by all means. If it is time to start to shift from your yoga practice onto the next activity of your day, take a moment now to start to rub your hands together. If you're seated or reclined, whatever is comfortable for you. Good. You might once again place your hands over your eyes. Just a nice full inhale, full exhale. And again, having your hands, rubbing your hands together, generating some heat, a little warmth in the palms of your hands. And then placing your hands again over the space of your heart, full inhale. And exhale. If you would like, again, rubbing your hands together, just generating some heat, getting a little energy going in your palms, and then let your hands be placed anywhere that feels good to you. Maybe that is to the space of your abdomen. Maybe it's again to your heart or your neck or your chest. Maybe your jaw. Just placing your hands, perhaps one to your heart, one to your belly. Good. And then again, either reclined or seated. Let's bring our hands together, bringing our palms together and up to the space of our forehead, up to our eyebrow center, a little smile. Again, that feeling of gratitude. Grateful for those who have walked this path before us, bringing us these tools and techniques that help to call us back home to ourself, to our true nature, to our true essence. Bring us a little pause from the endless display of energy and light and sound, and allowing us to turn our attention within. I'm so grateful for each of you. Thank you for your practice. Peace be with you, and namaste.